Welcome to the show, everybody. This is officially dealer time for the live audience. A 6:21 start time. No joke, unacceptable. My apologies. A little computer issue before the show. Usually, if it's like a 6:10 start, it's like there's one clip that's just not loading for whatever reason, and then I'm like, here we go, and then we'll go. And then like a 6:20 means like there's multiple clips that aren't starting, or there's something not saving, and then there's probably something on top of that. That just makes me want to throw everything that has a wire in it against the wall, basically. Just anything like that, anything with electrical current. I'm just like, you know what, damn technology. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to find a stage somewhere and just shout from the rooftops how I feel about the Eagles on any given day. The Sixers or the Flyers winning a shootout last night. How about that? Or Jalen Hurts talking about his fumble issue. There was an unfortunate little rumor started by somebody in Dallas. And I don't like talking about rumors because I feel like it only spreads rumors, even if you're saying the rumor's not true. We're going to shoot that down today. We're going to have it's not even fun. It's just a truth bomb. This is what it's going to be. And we're just going to blow that rumor up. That's what we're going to do today about just Jalen Hurts fumbling the football and just Jalen Hurts practicing not fumbling the football yesterday at practice. We did have a very interesting day of press conferences. And I know some people that might sound boring, but I love when a coach vents his frustration. And I love when a coach acknowledges that he listens to the outside world. I don't know if I need him taking advice from the outside world, but yet here we are with Nick Sirianni saying yesterday that he'll listen to the outside criticism and maybe sometimes, occasionally, it alters his opinion of what he's doing. I am of the belief that anybody can learn from anybody. You could be doing something for 20 years, and then somebody comes along and looks at it the first time and goes, oh, how come you don't do it this way? Then you go, oh, wait, how come I don't do it that way? I mean, like a lot of times people will talk about their experience. And don't get me wrong, experience matters. It matters a ton. But every once in a while, there's somebody with zero experience that comes along and goes, you ever think about it like this? It's almost like in the work smarter, not harder type of idea. It's like, the idea of you used an excavator to dig that hole. I used a shovel. I worked really hard, and it took you 20 minutes. It took me 10 days, whatever the case might be, to dig this hole. A head coach in the NFL always hears the outside criticism. And it annoys me, even going back to the underdog days with the Eagles. Oh, we don't hear the outside noise. Well, everyone's wearing a dog mask. Well, we hear it and it motivates it. Okay, well, then you hear it. The idea of it not just being a motivating factor, which I think can be for anybody when somebody's doubting you and says you're an underdog or you can't do it, whatever the case may be. It's another thing to say, yeah, we hear it. And then we're like, that was an interesting point. Maybe we should run the football. Something like that. Nick Sirianni literally said that yesterday. I have never, ever heard a coach say we listen to outside criticism and we think about it and go, maybe we need to make an adjustment. And I got to be honest with you, I don't hate it. I had a conversation with the great Jim Lynam one time about I happened to be standing next to him. We're in a group of people having a conversation, and it just kind of Jim and I walked away, Coach and I walked away, and an usher, it was at the Wells Fargo Center, an usher came up to him and just started talking basketball with him. And Jim Lynam, who's been in basketball his entire life, is listening to this usher who I don't know. I don't know their background. They could be, a great coach in some league. I don't know. But the point is, he was sitting there listening to this usher, and the usher was giving him his every single piece of advice he could give him about the 76ers. And Jim stood there, listened to it, had a conversation with him, and made this guy feel like, and I'll just say this, what the guy was talking about was not what the Sixers should be doing, but whatever. Jim just stood there and listened to it, and the gentleman walked away. Very nice conversation. And I said, Jim, God bless you, man. And he goes, I'll never forget this. He goes, Mark, through the mouth of babes. Through the mouth of babes. I go, everyone I've ever seen you come in contact with, as I said, no, everybody I've ever seen you come in contact with that wants to talk about the Sixers and knows what's wrong with the Sixers or Joel Embiid or whoever, you take it all in. And he goes, well, you never know who you're going to learn from, Mark. Like that. And like, not that I would ever blow somebody off as that person's just a moron, whatever. But he just took it in like, you never know what you could pick up from anybody. And it's along the same philosophy as you could spend so much time in a sport, playing a sport, coaching a sport, whatever the case may be, but somebody else comes along and introduces a new idea. And I know throughout the course of time here in Philadelphia, we've had some pretty good ideas, whether that be the number one wide receiver idea there with Andy Reid. Who was I just talking about this? Oh, Bill Cowell. You bring in somebody that is going to take Donovan McNabb to the next level, and his huge arm that you have tried to corral into a strict West Coast quarterback. Yeah, you're going to take that game to the next level, and that's exactly what you did when you brought in T.O. It's exactly what you did when you brought in other wide receivers to try to take them to the next, level. Guys that weren't Todd Pinkston, guys that weren't James Thrash, for instance. It's amazing what happens when, occasionally you do listen to the fan base. And I know the famous line is, if you listen to the fans, you end up sitting with the fans. Nick Sirianni just threw that out the window yesterday. And we'll get to his comments coming up here on the show. Nick talks about motion. You can tell he's starting to get very perturbed about the motion question. And it was the first question in the press conference yesterday. I caught some clips before I actually caught the presser yesterday. And the first, I saw Elliot Shore-Parks asked the question about the Eagles being last. I think everyone knows by now. The Eagles are last in the league in motion. They don't run a lot of motion offense, okay? They don't run a lot of pre-snap motion. Nick says, basically, you don't need to. That's not what you need to do. Then he talked about the criticism. Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports Philly asked the question about how do you separate what has been working for you and what other teams are recognizing. So, in other words, when you're struggling, how do you stick to your bread and butter plays, even though other teams might be shutting them down? How do you keep what had been working, and how do you decide what to change? That kind of thing. And Nick went on this. He took us on a journey. Is what he did when he answered this question. And that's where he started delving into the idea of outside criticism. He says, in the meetings, he offers criticism. Sometimes he hears criticism when it's questions in the media. Sometimes he hears criticism when it's guys standing outside the NovaCare complex with a fire Sean Desai. He didn't say this part. Fire the Sean Desai sign, or it's run the ball. You hear it from everyone. Yeah, maybe we could. Maybe that's not a bad idea. And I will say this: the Philadelphia Eagle fan base and the Philadelphia fan base in general, and I'm not just placating here, is a very smart fan base. I know we don't get headlines for it, but we know what we're talking about in this city. I think this city really knows the sport of basketball better than anything. They're most passionate, of course, about the sport of football, and they're very knowledgeable about that too. The reason I say basketball is just because with Big Five and the City Six, now everything's the Big Five, everyone's kind of got their city school. Everyone kind of rallies behind the college basketball. The pickup game scene in Philadelphia is phenomenal. Obviously, the Sixers have a long history here. So we've really dissected basketball and played the sport of basketball and done just about everything in the sport of basketball, where I think we know it pretty well at every single level. Football is obviously the most passionate. But when it comes to the Eagles, yeah, the Eagles fans do have a pretty damn good handle on what the Eagles need to be doing. And a lot of times when you see the franchise, maybe not necessarily listen to the fan base, or they at least get on the same page with the fan base about those little exterior things. Like, I'm not saying you pluck somebody out of the stands and all of a sudden they could coach or they could be the general manager. But every once in a while, we'll be watching a game and we'll be like, maybe they should be running the football. And there's no better example of it than T.O., obviously. There's no better example of it than 2017 when the Eagles are trying to, regroup after a tough loss against the Chiefs where they barely ran the ball in the second half, and everyone to a man in the second half talks about in the locker room how they need to run the football, and the Eagles fan base is all yelling about running the football. Then the Eagles start running the football. They go get Jerry Ajayi at the trade deadline. Next thing you know, they win a Super Bowl. They kind of needed to run the football. This team obviously needs to get DeAndre Swift more involved, not just in running the football, but also catching balls out of the backfield. This team needs to establish that run. This would be a good opportunity for them to do it. The Eagles need to spread the football around. You can't just have 3 guys targeted by your quarterback. That needs to happen. Spreading the ball around. It's now what the fans are really starting to call for. Every once in a while, they do come up with a good idea. And when Nick Sirianni got into the conversation yesterday about listening to outside criticism, I said, okay, sometimes it can be a really good thing. Because, again, from the mouth of babes, you can learn anything. But also for this Eagles team and this Eagles fan base, I think that the fan base here has a lot of good ideas for their football team, especially this year with the struggles. Now, there are other things like you have 2 horrible games and all of a sudden Sean Desai should be fired. I'm not on that page yet. There's too many problems for it just to be Sean Desai's problem. So we'll get that conversation. Eagles, and I love this. Eagles went with a padded practice yesterday. They didn't go with a walkthrough. Usually at this point in the week leading up to a game, again, everything's pushed back. So Thursday's practice was essentially Wednesday's practice, Wednesday's walkthrough, if you will. So yesterday was supposed to be a walkthrough. They opted for the padded practice. Good. That's what you should do when you're having struggles like this. The Eagles can't find their way out of this. And what's unfortunate, in the last 2 games, they couldn't find their way out of this. What's unfortunate is that sometimes when you do the extra things leading up to it, you get caught in that quicksand where you start to do some things different. Maybe you start to get a little annoyed, like Nick Sirianni had a motion question yesterday. Maybe Jalen Hurts about execution questions yesterday. You start to get a little annoyed. Maybe you start to struggle a little bit and you start sinking in that quicksand a little bit more. It's a double-edged sword because then maybe you do need sometimes to break that habit. And maybe you don't get caught in that quicksand. Maybe you actually struggle and find your way out of it. And the Eagles right now are in a situation where they are struggling to get out of that quicksand. I hope that Nick Sirianni knows how to extend that hand to pull somebody out. I hope Jalen Hurts knows how to extend that hand to pull somebody out. I hope that this defense does click and starts to get back to what they were doing earlier in the season and what they were doing when they were getting those fourth quarter sacks to shut down games and shut down threats and secure those victories. That's what I need to see from this Eagles team going forward, and they're not going to do that unless they do change the things that they've been doing over the last 2 weeks. Because whatever they have been doing over this time hasn't been working. And for the people that are making the argument, well, they're tired. It's the roughest part of the schedule. It's short weeks and all that stuff, and they're playing teams that are well-rested going into these games. And I think all that factors into it. I don't think it's an excuse. I don't think it's the reason they've lost these games. But overall, if you don't make any changes, you're going to continue to stay in this rut that you're in. And you need to almost send a message, a shot across the bow, that this team needs to do something different. And maybe that is the fumbling drill they were doing yesterday at practice where they had literally balls on strings and had guys falling down with the ball in their hands trying to secure the football so they wouldn't fumble it. There's a double-edged sword there. There's the positive of the negative. The negative is that you get caught in the quicksand. And now you're just struggling, trying to find different ways. You don't know your way out, and you're done. The other way is, no, you need to change and break the habits. You need to break the ritual, break the routine, and find a new way to win games. Find a new way to prepare to win games, most importantly. Because these last 2 games, the Eagles have not looked prepared in the least bit against the 49ers and the Cowboys. And you're not going to have a team in Seattle that's just going to roll over and die. And we're going to break it down with more X's and O's and more highlights of that, what we were really expecting in that preview on Monday's show. But right now, from the far outside looking in, you're looking at this Eagles team, and they need to make some drastic changes. Whether that's to the routine, I know aside from the padded practice, there was some talk about how Jalen Hurts and Brandon Graham broke down the team before their weightlifting sessions, that how everyone was really motivated and all that. Great. Whatever the emotion needs to be to get it to the level it needs to be at, do that before this Seattle game. Because you lose 3 in a row at this point, then you start really talking about not even hosting a playoff game. Like, think about that. You were 10-1, and you're not even going to be hosting a playoff game. Coming up, we're going to go through some of the games that we'll be watching on Sunday. If you watched the game last night, holy Lord, 63-21 Raiders over the Chargers last night. Going into the fourth quarter, 4 fumbles. 4 fumbles lost, and an interception by the Chargers last night in the Thursday night football game. Oh my God. First 60-point game in Raider history. That's insane. Absolutely insane. If you watch that game, first off, I hope you had the Raiders defense on your fantasy football. I don't know who did, but if you did, congratulations. But wow. That was one hell of a game. But we will get into the games that we'll be watching this weekend, paying close attention to. The number 1 game is the Cowboys taking on the Bills. Cowboys, obviously 10-3 on the season, but 3-3 on the road. Of course, one of those losses is to the Philadelphia Eagles, but just a 500 team on the road. Bills coming off an emotional win there over the Kansas City Chiefs. Bills obviously at home. Bills 5-2 at home against a 3-3 Cowboys road team. Bills are favored by 2 points in that one. So that's definitely one game we'll be looking at. We'll get into a couple more coming up in a minute here. I mentioned the Flyers. Ursa was in net last night. Sixers back in action tonight against the Pistons. All right, let's Yamamoto, by the way, met with the Phillies yesterday. I don't know what the Cy Young Award is called in Japan, but he's won it 3 times. Wouldn't mind him seeing him in Phillies pinstripes. Wouldn't mind that a little bit. Let's get to our boy. First off, the frustration here with Nick Sirianni. This is a bit of a long one, but you could definitely tell that Nick Sirianni is getting perturbed at the question of pre-snap motion. Elliott Shore-Parks, right out of the gate with it yesterday, got into that conversation with Nick Sirianni. It's a bit of a long one. Hang on.
Motion and an offense, or how you guys don't use it. I was wondering if you could explain just your philosophy on it, and kind of the pros and cons.
Yeah, I feel like I've answered this question about 5 times in this setting, and that's fine. I'll continue to. And I get it. There's going to be scrutiny when we're not playing and coaching well enough, because that's the case right now. We're not coaching well enough. We're not playing well enough. And but motions, there are many different ways you would motion. Sometimes it's to gather information. Sometimes it's to set up an advantage. Whatever it could be. There's other ways to gather information besides motion that teams do all the time, and that's something that we do. It could be by formation, right? It's just because a guy moves doesn't necessarily give you the answer. It could be if a guy is removed from the core, it can give you the answer. If a guy is tight to the core, it gives you the answer. This formation can give you an answer. We spend an obscene amount of time trying to find answers for the quarterback and for our offense of what the defense is based off of different looks. Now, sometimes the answer is to motion, and so there's some games where we motion more than we don't. And it's a fair question because we do it less than everybody in the NFL, and so I would say that these last 2 games have not been up to our standard. But for the past 2 years, we've been one of the best offenses in the NFL, and we've been in the same place with motion the entire time. I 100% understand the scrutiny of it, and you have to ask that question. I appreciate the question, but that's where our philosophy is on it. And I know in 3 months, I might have to answer this question again, and I have no problem with that. But that's without giving too much information, Elliot. That's my philosophy on it. And why you see us a little bit less down there, but I guess what I'm saying at the whole scheme of this is you can get answers without movement.
That was twice he said he appreciates the question, which only leads me to believe he doesn't appreciate the question. He is in a place right now, I think, where he is kind of getting fed up. He's a coach that has already won an NFC championship game. He's a coach that's been to the playoffs and will be to the playoffs each of his first 3 seasons as a head coach. And he's already getting the questions about pre-snap motion. They were 3rd in the NFL going into that 49ers game in offense. They've had 2 weeks where they have been, god-awful. And the problem is motion. To him, this sounds futile, especially when he's talking about different ways to recognize what the defense is doing. If you're going to make any changes, I don't think it has anything to do with ball security in practice. I think every player knows how to protect the football. Maybe fundamentally they're slipping a little bit. So, go ahead and remind them. It's a problem. Try to address it. Fine. But I don't think pre-snap motion is going to do anything for them as a drastic change. If you're trying to be the worst thing in the world, which is try to avoid being the worst thing in the world, which is predictable, the pre-snap motion, when you don't do it, when everyone in the NFL does it more than you, maybe that's a bit of a drastic change to your offense if you're all of a sudden going to start running a lot of pre-snap motion. It certainly would catch defenses off guard because they don't expect you to do it. But maybe that's something that if you try to even strive to be in the middle of the pack, it would be too much of a drastic change to the Eagles' offense. I wouldn't mind to see. I don't want to be dead last in anything in the NFL. If it's something like motion, I'd rather be, somewhere in the middle. Even maybe the bottom. It's going to put me the 10th fewest team to run motion or the 10th fewest emotions in an offense. Make me that. And I'll even be happy with that because it at least gives a different look. For me, it's not about motion. I think the quickest fix to this Eagles offense, it comes down to two things. And I don't think either of them are running pre-snap motions. For me, I think the two quickest fixes to this offense, they come with these two items, okay? Running the football. The most obvious thing you could do is run the football. And I'm not talking about Jalen Hurts runs the football. I'm not talking about padding the stats of, they're the sixth most rushing team, highest rushing team in the NFL. Yeah, it's because your quarterback and your tush pushes, those are all rushing attempts. I'm talking about running the football with DeAndre Swift, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott. I'm talking about giving the ball to DeAndre Swift out of the backfield in screens and throwing the ball in the flat, seeing if he can make somebody miss, make a big play that way. That would be a good enough change to this offense that you really haven't seen this season to get that ball moving a little bit and something that the other defenses haven't seen yet. Number one thing right there, run the football, giving the ball to DeAndre Swift. Number one thing. Number two, RPOs. RPOs. Can we get that going again? There's another thing that came up yesterday while I was doing the hit on the Philly Sports Power Hour with Bill yesterday. The RPO factor for the Eagles is non-existent this season. Jalen Hurts has done a phenomenal job out of the RPO throughout the course of his, albeit brief, career. I don't understand why that's not more part of the offense. Now, the argument that people make, and I don't understand it because it doesn't make any damn sense to me, you want to protect him now because he's $150 million guaranteed over the next, after this year, 2 seasons. You want to make sure you protect him, and you're hoping that he goes through the course of the whole $250 million contract. Okay. So you want to protect him. So then why is he running the football so much? Why on designed runs are you letting him out there? That doesn't make it. You can't have it both ways. You're either trying to protect him or you're not trying to protect him. And contrary to how Jalen Hurts remembers it last year, he says he's never got hurt outside the pocket. Oh, he got hurt outside the pocket. That's how he messed up his shoulder last year in Chicago, outside the pocket and beyond the line of scrimmage. So the people that want to make the argument about you don't get hurt outside the pocket, see last year. So you either want to protect him or you don't. So the two things I would do is run the damn football with my running backs. See, the name is in the title. The description is in the title. Running backs. And then after that, I would make sure I'd incorporate the RPO again. The thing that is so wild to me is that the Eagles literally they won a Super Bowl using the RPO with Nick Foles. Was there any R part of Nick Foles' game? No, there was no run. You obviously have that with Jalen Hurts. Letting him read half the field, delivering the ball on those slant routes that we've talked about, where the Eagles do a phenomenal job running those slant routes with A.J. Brown, and they have so much success doing it. And time again, we're like, well, where's that? And then they just get away from it. For me, it doesn't make any damn sense. If Jalen Hurts has had a lot of success with it in his career, let it rip, man. What are you saving it for? The playoffs? How about you work on getting a home game at least at this point in the playoffs? How about that? That sounds like a good idea. How about at this point, you try to lock up the NFC East? You still try to come away with the number 1 seed in the NFC somehow magically when you look at what the 49ers have left on their schedule. The bottom line is you're most likely going to have to go. You're going to have to go 4-0, not most likely. You're going to have to go 4-0 to have a shot at winning the NFC and getting the number 1 seed and home field advantage of the playoffs. 4-0. So if If there was a time to break out the RPO, it'd be now. Maybe it's one of those things that Jalen Hurts just doesn't like doing. Talking about pre-snap motions. I know it's a buzzword now. Talking about pre-snap motions. I don't really care. To me, that's not the problem. If you're going to try to be less predictable, run the ball a little bit more, use those RPOs. That was Nick Sirianni yesterday on it. Here's the numbers again on the slant route. You see it in the middle here by Shane Haff, who has just been pumping out Eagles content, by the way. Highly recommend for the people on the podcast. It's Shane at Shane Haff, HAFF NFL. You see right there, Eagles 7th in success rate on slants, but 22nd in usage. Hey, here's an idea. Do the thing that you do well. When you're struggling, get back to those bread and butter plays, Beb. When you're struggling, get back to those bread and butter plays. There was one more from Nick Sirianni I wanted to get you guys. Okay, this is again invoking the great Jim Lannon. You're through the mouth of babes. Okay, I don't know why I do the hand motion, but I have to do it when I do my terrible impression of Jim Lannon's voice. Nick Sirianni also yesterday, when he was asked about how you keep what you're doing well, keep your bread and butter without trying to be predictable in the NFL.
Grow from that. And so I will also listen to criticisms of the outside world. Now, do I sit there and look at all the things? No, Bob has to prepare me for the questions I may get in here. And so criticisms never feel good at first, but if you can use them to your advantage, then we should. And that's kind of how I look at this, right? There's some criticisms out there. Like I answered the motion question, but there's some other things I'm like, maybe we can look at that. Maybe we can do a little bit more there. So I think that shows that we listen. We'll find every different way we can to improve what we're doing on offense now or defense, right? And so that's the same thing. We're not hitting a panic button as far as we got to do everything that we didn't play good we didn't play good and we didn't coach good the last 2 weeks. We didn't play good enough and we didn't coach good enough the last 2 weeks to win the games. And it wasn't up to our standards. So we're pissed and we're looking for ways to fix that. And like I said, we have our ideas of what we do, but then there's sometimes you look at different avenues of, whether it's the criticism from the outside or an analytical thing, and you're like, okay, man, maybe this. I'm not saying you can do that all the time because there's an art to knowing what criticisms to listen to and what ones are jokes.
Jokes. Again, through the mouth of babes, you can learn anything and all that jazz. The idea that he is like Bryce Harper, he's listening to the radio, he's listening to podcasts, he's reading the newspaper, he's reading articles, he's scrolling social media, seeing criticism. Hell, once again, seeing criticism right outside the Novacare complex with who he should fire, how he should fire, how they should run the football, Slay and Bradbury are trash, all that stuff. There's that type of criticism. And then there's maybe we should run the ball more. He does admit later in the press conference that, yes, DeAndre Swift needs to touch the ball more. DeAndre Swift needs to get the ball out of the backfield more. They should do that sooner rather than later. I'll pull up the exact quote for you on that. But he did get into that. And he talks about distribution. He said, it's not because we always want to get guys involved. Listen, DeAndre Swift needs to touch the ball more out of the backfield as far as a receiver. He's a dynamic player. When I heard that yesterday, the thing I jumped back to, all right, was DeAndre Swift in the preseason during training camp. DeAndre Swift he was asked about DeAndre Swift. Nick Sirianni was asked about DeAndre Swift, and he talked about how he's a receiver, how he has receiver hands. You'll watch a running back, and he says you can watch a running back and go, okay, they catch the ball like a running back. But when you have a running back that can catch the ball like a wide receiver, and Nick Sirianni, former wide receivers coach, former wide receiver himself at Mount Union, started talking about the hands of a wide receiver on DeAndre Swift, then why isn't he getting the football more? If he's a dynamic playmaker, as you highlighted yesterday, why is he not getting the ball more? A.J. Brown is a great wide receiver. Devontae Smith is a great wide receiver. These guys today at the NFL level do a great job. Not so much against the Cowboys. The fumbling I think is going to be few and far between. I don't think that's going to be the norm for either of those two guys. Drops are guys. But when I look at those two guys, I say, yes, I don't really mind that you're running the offense through them. And Nick Sirianni saying on Tuesday that he runs the offense through them. Yeah, fine. But that doesn't mean that you ignore everybody else. The other playmakers on the team will only make those guys more playmakers. Only give them the opportunity to make more plays. And I look, you guys know I hate the idea that the screen game or the flat routes are extensions of the run game. But when it comes to sucking that defense in, bringing them closer to the line of scrimmage, that's what you could do with the run game, the screen game, flat routes, and then drag routes. And then after that, when you've sucked that defense in and they're watching for that, especially the run, they're watching a play action in the backfield, that's where you can go over the top and hit a guy like A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. And they don't do that. The idea of getting back to basics, I think, can very much help this team. So the basics are the fundamentals and not fumbling the football, fine. Running the football is all we're talking about here. Some RPOs. Play action. I feel like play action is to football as the pick and roll is to basketball. Just like, just do it. It usually works. You're going to get a yard. You're going to get 2 yards. In the morning rush, by the way, I have a fun little thing I came across recently in light of the tush push looking like it's staying. But we'll get to that. I really hope that this team isn't falling into that quicksand, man, and just trying to overthink the ways that they could get out of this jam that they're in. And when I hear Nick Sirianni talking about listening to outside criticism, it kind of makes me think maybe they're overthinking this. Jalen Hurts addressed the media yesterday as well. He talked about ball security, talked about things that they need to watch for in this game, need to be careful of in this game. And it all starts kind of with execution and ball security. So yesterday, Jalen Hurts was asked about that ball security and his recent fumbles. I believe this is that cut.
When you guys, in those moments...
Let me set it up. Here is that cut about him talking about ball security.
Protect the ball. Protect the ball is kind of always a thing we push out every time we talk about, a key to victory. And ball security is a big thing, so, that's a focus point.
Nick said that it's unnatural to fall to the ground and protect the ball at the same time, and that there are things that we've done in practice to help simulate that. Is that something that can be done, or is that as simple as reminding yourself?
Yeah, it's a reminder. You try and rep it, and you try and find new ways to stretch yourself and different things. But, in the end, the goal when you go into any game is to do that and protect the ball and in every possession in the kick.
Jalen,
Back to the basics. I will say this about Jalen Hurts. The next cut I'm about to play for you, it might be the most you ever hear him perturbed. It might be the most you ever hear him perturbed or a little edgy. But one of the things I really do admire about him is that for the most part, there's emotional things that happen during the game, but for the most part, he is an even-keeled SOB. You do not see the emotion from him very often. You go back to 2 years ago, people are asking about trading for Aaron Rodgers. People are asking about trading for Russell Wilson, signing Russell Wilson, whatever the case may be. Going at Deshaun Watson, bringing him in here to Philadelphia. And the entire time, after just going through all the Carson Wentz drama, what did he say every single time? In a not arrogant way, he just said, I'm above it all. I can't allow that to drag me down or distract me from what my goal is, which is being the best possible quarterback I could be for the Philadelphia Eagles when the opportunity is presented to me to be that. And that opportunity is presented to him every single game. Here's the red carpet's out. The red carpet of opportunity is out. He marched down that red carpet 2 years ago, and last year sprinted down that red carpet and took this team to a Super Bowl and was runner-up to a guy who's now two-time MVP in Patrick Mahomes. and then played phenomenally well in the Super Bowl. I love his attitude. I love that that's his demeanor. And I even love when Jake Elliott kicked that field goal against the Bills to send it to overtime. His attitude wasn't just in the moment of, okay, good, he kicked that. It was he shouldn't have put the team in a position to need that field goal. They should have been able to get downfield in other instances of that game and be able to maximize on their drives and maximize on their possessions, maximize on their opportunities in that game. And I love that that's part of his attitude. And you see it in the game occasionally. You certainly saw it against Dallas. You certainly saw it against the 49ers. You saw it in that moment against the Bills. But when he's asked these questions, rarely do you ever see him perturbed. And when he's asked these questions here about the fumbles, he's just talking about securing the football, getting back to fundamentals, and it's something that you cannot do. You can't lose the turnover battle as drastically as they lost the turnover battle. 3-1, they lose. 4-0, like it was against the Jets, you lose. 3 of those interceptions, obviously, from Jalen Hurts. Not great. Not great. 1 fumble from DeAndre Swift against it. Not great. So it is a very important basic part of football. Don't give the other team more opportunities with those turnovers. Just look at last night's game. All of a sudden, 60 points were on the board. Look at the 70-point performance earlier in the season by the Dolphins. Pretty insane. And then finally, this is where you start to hear them. This is the only time I've really – there's a little tone here in repeating the answer that you can tell Jalen is a little pissed off.
You guys, in those moments of the season, and I guess particularly over the last couple of weeks, when you have struggled on offense, have you found that defenses are maybe better prepared for what you guys are going to do? Or do you find that it's plays that would work if you guys had everything buttoned up and there's a fumble or there's a missed assignment or something along those lines?
Yeah, I think it's a thing of execution. It's the same answer I've given you guys to every question you guys have asked. It's execution. We have to do a better job of executing.
Do you feel like this offense gives you enough easy throws?
I feel like we're not executing what's going on well enough.
Do you go into a season knowing that it's at some point?
That's okay. So to break that down, when he's talking about execution and he highlights it twice, I hear a little annoyance in the answer there. Maybe it's just Sealski, stirring the pot, that Mike Sealski character, friend of the show. I've always hated when the play calling isn't good, when the game plan hasn't been good. I always hate the answer that we're just not executing, because that is such a broad and general way to answer the question that it just annoys me, because what we're looking for are answers to why you're having these struggles, and execution isn't always the answer. For instance, if you just ran the ball twice with your running backs, and I've gone to this point throughout the week, like you did to start out this game against the Cowboys, and then all of a sudden you line up with an empty backfield. The whole reason you're supposed to be running the football is not just to run and gain ground, but also get them thinking that you're going to run the ball, set up a play action, then you can beat them over the top. And the Eagles didn't do that. So I don't understand the philosophy and the play calling and the game plan that goes into what they're trying to execute. If you're trying to execute a poor game plan, it's not in the execution. It's in the game plan. I mean, every single play you could talk about, well, if I would have completed that pass, well, then I'm executing the play. Well, yeah, sure. But maybe the defense was expecting you to throw the ball at that moment. Maybe you were extremely predictable, putting the defense in a better position to defend that pass. Sure. You could run a fake punt you could call a fake punt every single play. All right. If you don't execute it, is it on the execution, or is it on the idea that you called a fake punt every single play? I think it's on the idea, the game plan. So whenever a team talks about execution, dig a little deeper, because I don't think it's just execution here. It's just not Jalen Hurts maybe overthrowing a guy by a step, or a guy not laying out for it, or A.J. Brown not catching that ball that went to his crotchal region against the Cowboys last week. It's not just execution here. And Jalen Hurts is saying that, and in a way, he's protecting his coaches, and that's nice, whatever. But I think if you're watching this game, you don't want them to execute the poor play calling because bottom line is poor play calling. They're not putting their team in a good position to execute. And it's beautiful that he's focusing on that, and it's nice, takes coaches off the hook in his mind, but I don't believe it even a little bit. To me, the problem with the Eagles hasn't been the execution. It's been the game plan, the design, it's been the play calling. And there's no better example of that than the fact that they can't get going in the first half of games. And even when they did against the 49ers in the first quarter, they didn't settle for field goals. Can we get these two things together? It's been a minute since we've had these two things together. A good game plan, coming out of the gate strong, and finishing in the red zone. Feels like it's been about 6 weeks since we really saw all that come together. It's definitely been a minute. Brandon Graham was in the locker room yesterday talking about how everybody's in the right headspace. Jordan Mailata talked about the fumbling drill yesterday. I love an offensive lineman talking about the fumbling drill, saying, yes, it helps everybody get back to basics and focus on the little things. Because as of right now, when it seems like everything is going wrong, you start with the little things and you rebuild the foundation so that everything piled on top of it becomes a positive and not a negative. And nothing spirals out of control. Yeah, let's hope that's the case. And that's what they had going on for you guys at practice yesterday. Before I go any further, I want to get into some of these games that we can watch that will affect the Eagles going forward for the playoff race right now in the NFC. And actually, one of these involves the AFC as well. So here's what you got coming up this weekend. Don't forget, you got Saturday games this week. So tomorrow, Minnesota at Cincinnati. Minnesota fighting for a playoff spot. They're 7-6 on the season. They got a 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday at Cincinnati. After that, you also have Minnesota. Or excuse me, after that, you have Denver at Detroit. The 9-4 Detroit Lions, they kick off at 8:15. They right now are in the third playoff seed in the NFC. The Eagles are 10-3, better record, but obviously not the division winner right now. That goes to the Cowboys. Eagles are the 5th seed heading into this weekend's games. Another interesting game here is Tampa Bay and, by the way, Denver and Detroit. Denver at Detroit is 8:15 Saturday night. Tampa Bay at Green Bay. That game's kicking off at 1 o'clock on Sunday, getting into the Sunday slate of games here. Green Bay 6-7, outside looking in on the playoff situation right now. They're taking on a Tampa Bay team that has the 4th playoff seed, being that they lead the NFC South somehow at 6-7. Good God, y'all. Tampa Bay at Green Bay at 1 o'clock. Green Bay looking to bounce back from losing to Tommy Cutlets in North Jersey. By the way, I got to say this, because it leads me into this next one. The Giants at New Orleans. New Orleans comes into this game struggling, but they are also 6-7, looking to fight for their playoff lives. They got to have a better record than Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay holds their tie breaks. You're coming into a situation, Giants at New Orleans, 1 o'clock kickoff. 2 reasons why I'm looking at this. New Orleans and their playoff chances. And although the Giants don't have a shot in hell at the playoffs right now, they're 5-8 on the season. I don't want them to continue to be hot. I would love for them to cool off a wee bit before facing the Eagles. I know that might sound ridiculous because nobody's afraid of old Tommy Cutlets at this point, but I just don't want a team that's really confident going into that game against the Eagles. So that game kicks off 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And then, of course, you have San Francisco at Arizona. That's a 4:05 start time. Obvious reasons. You want San Francisco to choke at any point. And this would be a great time for them to choke and open up that window for the Eagles going into Monday night, knowing that if they win, they all of a sudden have a better record than the San Francisco 49ers. This is to me, the biggest game for the Eagles, because the best case scenario is obviously they win the NFC. I'll settle right now for the Eagles winning the NFC East and guaranteeing themselves a home playoff game. So the Eagles right now with Dallas, they are both 10-3, as we know. The Dallas Cowboys hold that tiebreak. But Dallas is going into Buffalo 4:25 on Sunday. That game right there, I see the Buffalo Bills winning. And no, that's not just me being Paulie Pom-Poms over here. For me, I think the Buffalo Bills are on the upward trajectory right now. The Dallas Cowboys do not play well on the road. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys continue to buck trends of not being able to beat teams. First, they beat teams with a winning record. First, they got their little warm-up lap against the Seattle Seahawks, who were 6-5. They beat them in a struggle-filled game, but they beat them. Defensively struggled. And then they beat the Eagles, another obviously over 500 team. Now can they win on the road? They're 3-3 on the road, heading into Buffalo. As I mentioned, Buffalo's 2-point favorites in that game, and they're a 5-2 home team. Buffalo playing some pretty damn good football. Josh Allen scares the hell out of me. I will say that, facing a secondary that has Deron Bland. Josh Allen is first off, he and Sam Howell are tied for the league in interceptions with 14. Josh Allen's career high for interceptions in a season is 15. So he's one shy of his career high. And if he throws an interception in this game, not only will that be his career high 15th interception of the season, it'll be his 10th consecutive game with throwing an interception. You know who I feel bad for? That Buffalo Bills defense that has one of the highest takeaway marks in all of football. I think they're top 3. And their offense is like, no, thank you. We're going to give it right back to them. That's kind of how it goes for them. And then there's one game that's a little bit off the beaten path with the Eagles playing on Monday night that I'll be paying attention to on Sunday night. And that is the Sunday night game, Baltimore at Jacksonville. Now, why the hell do I give a damn about Baltimore and Jacksonville? Baltimore is obviously on the San Francisco 49ers schedule. Baltimore has the best chance because they're the best team remaining on the San Francisco 49ers schedule. Baltimore is the best team remaining on that schedule. So I would love for them to stay hot. They're going on the road to face Jacksonville, and then they come home after that to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Excuse me, they travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. That game is also going to be a Monday night kickoff on Christmas Day, by the way, Christmas night, I should say, on ABC. But Baltimore at Jacksonville, I'd love to see Baltimore stay hot on the road, and then be able to go into San Francisco and handle the business. So that's a game I'll be paying attention to again. So Minnesota at Cincinnati on Saturday, Denver at Detroit on Saturday, 8:15. That's the night game. Then on the Sunday slate of games, Tampa Bay at Green Bay, Giants at Saints at 1 o'clock, Niners at Arizona, Niners at Cardinals there at 4:05, Dallas at Buffalo 4:25, Baltimore at Jacksonville 8:20. We got a whole look. If you're in fantasy football, you already have. If you made your playoffs, you're already going to be watching these games anyway. But for the extra games to pay attention to this weekend, those are the games to pay attention to this weekend. Let's get into the Flyers real quick. Got to mention the Flyers and the Sixers. Flyers last night, they extend their point streak now to 7 games with their overtime victory over the Washington Capitals. It was a 4-3 game, shootout victory. They went 4-3 in the shootout. Who was it? Tippett that came up with the goal to tie things up and force it into overtime. Owen Tippett, Owen Tippett, top of the what do you call it? From the blue line. Nice little turnaround wrister. Was able to beat the goalie for it and got the goal. Ties things up at 3-3. They go into the shootout, and oh my goodness gracious, the shootout goal that was scored by Bobby Brink was a thing of beauty. Gets up to the crease, slows down, gets the goaltender to bite hard. He went in slow motion is what he did, and then he just put it in the net with the easiest goal you'll ever see in your life. Flyers had a hell of a game last night. They were able to rally. Washington scored 2 goals in the second period. Flyers came back, scored 1. Then they got 2 in the third period. Washington got 1. They were able to force that shootout, and Ursan was in net, making 27 saves of the 30 shots that he saw. Your goals in total were scored by Joel Farabee, Bobby Brink, as I mentioned, and Owen Tippett in last night's contest in regulation, and then they were able to do what they needed to do in the course of the shootout. Sixers back in action tonight in South Philadelphia when they take on they finish up their home-and-home series with the Detroit Pistons. Sixers obviously coming out yet another blowout win, 129-111 over the Pistons. Joel Embiid didn't play in the fourth quarter. I would like to see the Sixers hand the Pistons their 22nd consecutive loss. Pistons have 2 wins on the season. Let's see the Sixers hand them their 22nd consecutive loss. And I would also like to see if Joel Embiid doesn't sit out the fourth quarter, I'd like to see him sit out the game. I never say that with a home game, but it is the Pistons. So that's what the Sixers got going on tonight. Look forward to that game. Hopefully another blowout win there for the 76ers. Phillies are in on Yamamoto. I just like that they're getting. Hey, look, they're going to get offers, or he's going to get offers from everybody who wants to win a World Series next year. That it would surprise me if the Phillies pull that off. But there was a time where the Phillies were never in on the hot shot prospect out of Japan. Not even a mention. Or Korean baseball, even. I love that they're at least kicking the tires. I love that they're at least getting the meeting with him. Trying to sell him on Philadelphia, see what he's all about. That is one hell of a rotation in the upcoming season. I'll say that. It really goes without saying. I don't like the small victories here. I'm not talking about moral victories. I'm talking about small victories. But even just to get the meeting, that makes me a happy camper as a Phillies fan. Let me tell you right now about the great people before I get to the chat check. Let me tell you about the great people at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Take advantage of all they have to offer. We can bet on anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie and the MyBookie app. Go to mybookie.ag and check it all out. Want to bet on baseball when it comes up? How about it at mybookie.ag? Want to bet on basketball right now, football right now, mybookie.ag, hockey, mybookie.ag, and use promo code Farzi for up to $1,000 in redeemable cash bonus. So go to the MyBookie app. And how about this? If you're not a sports fan, you can bet on TV shows. You can bet on your favorite TV shows. You know what else you can bet on? You can bet on the world of politics. If you enjoy that, I don't, but maybe you do. Have at it. Maybe you're too passionate for sports and politics. Have at it. Bet on it all with the MyBookie app and use promo code Farzi for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus. Ladies and gentlemen, how about the amazing people, the incredible people, especially this holiday season at the Game Time app? Got someone in your life that you know they want those tickets to that thing that they've been talking about nonstop? Can't get tickets? Game Time app. Last second ticket sales, flash ticket sales, ultimate savings at the Game Time app. And use promo code Farzi when you download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzi, F-A-R-Z-Y, and you get $20 off your first purchase. They know what they're doing at the Game Time app. And how about this? The Game Time guarantee. Lowest prices. How about this? That means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets at the same section, in the same row, for less money elsewhere, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They got zone deals. You pick the section. Game Time picks the seats. That gives you huge savings. And they also give you the seat view, so you know you're not sitting in front of a pole. You know where the angle is. You're not getting ripped off where you're sitting behind the stage or something like that. You know where you are. When you buy tickets for that special someone in your life, friend of yours, your significant other, whoever it might be, you want to know that you're getting them a good seat. You can preview that seat with the Game Time app. And you want to know that the Game Time app, you want to know that it's a trustworthy site. It is a trustworthy site. Use promo code Farzi, and not only is it trustworthy, you get $20 off your purchase. Tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. Game Time app. Use promo code Farzi, the Game Time app, when you create an account, and have yourself a good time. Also, don't forget about the wonderful people of Manscaped, the stocking stuffer that you need. Listen to this, Manscaped. You know the name Manscaped by now. You know how great they are. My old friend, Trey Thomas. Such a beautiful read he would do with the Manscaped people. Well, Santa baby, coming to town this Christmas, coming to town this holiday season. When you want something in the stocking, when you want something on the table right there, you take advantage of this great deal right now with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It's the crown jewel of the holidays, and I dare you to say it's not the best ball trimmer of all time, ladies and gentlemen. Manscaped has you taken care of. The electric razor's advanced skin-safe technology is a lifesaver. Literally in some cases. And I know it also reduced the risk of nicks, so you can manscape with confidence and comfort and take care of, wait for it, Santa's sack. You know what I'm saying. The fun doesn't stop there. Anybody in the family have too much scruff? Look no further than Manscaped Beard Hedger, Pro Kit, and Handyman Electric Face Shaver for all the facial hair needs. You know, there's a vicious rumor going around that I dye my beard. I do not dye my beard. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some grays poking out. And also, how about this? If your dad doesn't have to really take care of the nails either, nasty nose hairs as well. You can take care of that with the Weed Whacker 2.0 nose and ear hair trimmer as well. So take advantage of all that right there at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use promo code FARZY20. That's Farzy, the number 20, Farzy20, and you'll get some great savings right there. 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy20 at manscaped.com. Manscaped, free shipping, manscaped.com, promo code Farzy. Say ho, ho, ho to a well-groomed mistletoe with Manscaped. Let's get into the chat check. Oh, hold on. Let's see. PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. It's PHLSportsStation.com. Damn, how dare I? As I scroll up to look at the chat, I never showed you guys or went over the injury report. Injury report for the Eagles yesterday. Again, this was not a regular. There we go. I'm a child. Sorry. For the people on the podcast, I couldn't help it. I was just doing shadow puppets. Anyway, I noticed my hand was in the shot. Zach Cunningham, Cam Jurgens, Darius Slay all did not participate. Darius Slay's got the knee injury, pectoral injury for Cam Jurgens. Zach Cunningham still dealing with the knee injury. Reed Blankenship, though, concussion protocol. At least he was limited in practice. And again, it was a padded practice. All right, let's get into that chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine, fine morning. Pushing buttons. All right. Hello, everyone. Start at the top. April. Good morning, April. Miss Scusi for the dealer time. I will say, since you said Miss Scusi, April, I am amazed. I gotta be honest with you. I'm amazed. Good morning, Twiz. I am absolutely amazed at the attention Tommy DeVito is getting. I understand that it's the perfect story. I understand. It would be like somebody named Rocky Balboa playing for Philadelphia. Like, it really would. But Tommy DeVito, being an Italian-American from North Jersey, who grew up a Giants fan, who grew up, I think it's 20 minutes from the stadium. The guy lives with his mom and dad. His dad's a plumber. From what I understand, Mario of Super Mario fame is their, I don't want to say logo and get him in a legal battle with Nintendo. But he talks about his mom's chicken cutlets. He still lives at home. His bed is made. His laundry's done. All that stuff. There couldn't be a more perfect person for North Jersey to be the quarterback of the. This is the stuff they make movies about. A guy named Tommy DeVito and his cousin, his name is Danny DeVito. Not that Danny DeVito. But he made 300 chicken cutlet sandwiches, 300 chicken cutlets to make sandwiches for people at the tailgate. It couldn't be a more beautiful story. And I know that the Italian American in pop culture, a lot of it is the mob-driven stuff, and I think most Italian Americans know that's a great stereotype, whatever. But it's funny. People find it funny. I find it funny, and people are embracing the hell out of it. Yesterday, I don't watch the show often, but Pat McAfee. I caught a little bit of his show. He had Chuck Pagano on and Mike Lombardi on. And he felt the need to reveal that 23andMe told Pat McAfee got the test back from 23andMe, and it revealed that he was 1% Italian. So he went out and bought an Italian horn. People are embracing the hell out of this story, more so than I ever thought they would. Even if somebody would have told me before the season, you're not going to believe this. This guy named Tommy DeVito, who's from North Jersey, is going to play quarterback for the New York Giants, and he's going to win. And he's actually going to look good doing it. And he's going to say he lives with his mom and dad. He's going to say his mom makes great chicken cutlets and she does his own laundry. I'm going to be like, I wouldn't believe it. I'd be like, that's too central casting for who the New York Giants quarterback should be. And people are taking the story and running with it. And I give a lot of credit to the family. Especially the agent who was basically dressed like what's his the hitman from Godfather 2 for Michael Corleone. Black suit, black turtleneck, pinstripe, gold chain, fedora. I went through a fedora phase. But yeah, sorry. It all because April, you said Miscusi. I had to go off on that tangent. I meant to do it anyway, but there it is. Boom. Jason A, good morning, Farzy. How about our Flyers, man? How about them Flyers? 16, 10, and 5 on the season, something like that. Where are they right now? Flyers on this young 16, 10, and 3. Miscusi. 16, 10, and 3 on the season. I'm loving it. Loving every second of it. Twiz, what's going on? It's Stout control of our run game. Why hasn't he? Oh, isn't Stout control of our run game? Why hasn't he spoken up? I don't think Stout's got a big say in the matter, unfortunately. Sean Gillespie, start using common sense adjustments like good teams do. Stop playing this soft, scared type of play. I'm with you. Eagles are stealing my enjoyment of football with their infuriating play. I can take losses, not stupid losses, because of fear and analytics bull. Chargers are mystifying. Yeah, I agree with that. Blue City Empire Sports. Oh, now you want to talk about Tommy DeVito. Hey, Blue City, you capitalize that V in DeVito. You put some respect on the man's name. Hey, I'll say this. That last touchdown pass he threw against the Packers where he rolled to his right, that was the guy was throwing darts against the Packers. To get in the field goal range to win the game, he was money. And I know he's not supposed to be great. And even Mike Lombardi was talking about how, it's a great story and you got to embrace the story. But Mike Lombardi, good God, man, you are a big old cloud on a rainy day of spaghetti and meatballs, dude. The talent wins out. Why? Because nobody saw this guy being good. Because no talent scout really, no scout really looked at him and went, "Oh, this is the guy." Like there's like Brock Purdy's last pick in the draft, and he's never going to be great. And now all of a sudden, it could be great. Oh, it could be the MVP. Sometimes guys are wrong. You know that thing that we were talking about earlier with Nick Sirianni? You're listening and maybe learning something from anybody. When people are wrong about guys that they scouted, that's not a good thing for them. So Tommy DeVito bursting out onto the scene when anybody could have had him, that's not a good look for scouts. Brock Purdy's not a good look for scouts right now. The Tommy DeVito story is a great story. I think I mentioned it yesterday. Kyle Pagan, Crossing Broad, was like, even as an Eagles fan, I find it impossible to hate Tommy DeVito. How could you hate Tommy DeVito? Here's why it's easy to like him. One, the story overall is a great story. Two, are you threatened by the Giants? Because I'm really not. I mean, I will highlight it. I just don't want them feeling confident going into the Eagles game, so I want them to get blown out in New Orleans. But I'm not nervous about a 5-8 Giants team right now. Sean, April, dealer time. Fuji, what's going on, Fuji? Happy Friday. Damn right. Friday. There you go, Fuji. Good. I want to be annoyed. Everyone else is. Thank you, April. What's your opinion about the New York Giants backup quarterback Tommy DeVito? I've talked about that. King Pooty TV. Bills will beat the Cowgirls this week. I agree with you. Everyone's saying good morning. Everyone's saying hello. DT, what's going on? What good is it to have great records and get to the Super Bowl because of analytics and lose big games because of lack of feel when to adjust in real time? This time will die on Analytics Hill. Wait, this team will die on Analytics Hill. Yeah, they seem to be pretty Joe Pro Analytics, unfortunately. Who else we got here? Moneyball, says Sean. Travis, what's going on? All I ask for Christmas is we win out and the Niners lose once to Baltimore. All right, I'll take that one. Sure. Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Did I get everybody here? Ooh, Travis. The fact that he didn't copy Shane shows how full of himself Nick is. Not bad. Twist. Farzy needs to get his younger brother in check. Nick Sirianni is a year older than me. Damn it. Blue Flame at the Super Bowl. What's going on? Shake man. Honestly, Feel the NFL is stacked. Okay. Daz. Oh, special guest is back. What's up, sweetheart? Say good morning. That's nice. Let me tell you. Oh, here we go. April, let me tell you, once you leave the Northeast, Italian Americans are not as prevalent. There are hardly any here in Eastern Carolina. I learned that the hard way too, April. Not like you, where you live there, but I've been. Yes, sweetheart. You want to come up? Okay, come on up. Can you say go birds? Can you say go birds? Can you say go Eagles? You just stare at yourself in the monitor. You're my little narcissist. I love you so much. Anyway.
I want to color.
You want to color again? All right, go ahead. You can color on that. I'm done with that. Here, this is a blue pen. You might enjoy that more.
Oh, blue pen.
That's your favorite color.
Yeah.
Scoozy,
And
wash your hand.
favorite color.
That's true. I'll move this over here so we don't do that.
That's my favorite color too.
I know. That's my blue mouse that I use on the show here to move things around. April, there you go. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying I was offended by this at all, but I just find it funny.
Blue.
I know it's blue. That's why I gave it to you. I wasn't offended. This is not a complaint. It's just a funny thing that when you do travel outside the Northeast corner of the United States and you happen to have a foreign sounding last name like Farzetta, people are you one? Literally, this was a guy in Memphis, Tennessee. Are you one of those Italians? As a matter of fact, I am. Oh boy. Daz, this is a lot. I'm going to try. I'm sorry, Twiz. Daz, I have another day. Face red, droopy eyes. Face red, droopy eyes. Face red. Okay. All right. Turned the game off last night. Big D, Fly Eagles Fly. There you go. Oh, April says good morning, little Toots. Say good morning, April.
Morning. Hey, Flo.
Little MacGyver returns.
Daddy, look up.
Actually, Little Toots is the new Eagles defensive coordinator. So there you go.
Daddy, look.
Is that a Z?
No, F.
Oh, Scoozy. Need to work on something? No, I'm just kidding. All right. Who do you, Emmanuel, who do you want to be the Eagles' new offensive coordinator? TY5TP asked that question. Who do you want to be the new Eagles offensive coordinator?
Emily.
Emily? Aunt Emily? All right, clipping this for the holidays. You're going to love that one. There we go. Oh, T-Bro. Good morning, T-Bro. Once Yamamoto. There you go. Yamamoto or no show? There we go. Blue Flame. I think I missed something you said earlier. Shake my head. Honestly, feel like the NFL is stacked, bought. Oh, you're saying rigged deck and paid for by Vegas. I've been saying this since 2017. Vegas needs to make money. I knew that the Eagles would lose when I saw Musk. What?
Daddy, I need a pee.
Chiefs fan. Okay. Musk.
Daddy.
Yeah, sweetheart.
I need a pee.
There we go. Good hustle, sweetheart. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic as per usual. Yes, Phillies are meeting with Yamamoto. Oh, Babs, thank you. Can you say hi, Babs? Can you say hi, Babs? Barbara? No? Good talk. Show the camera her pic. Oh, here you go. There we go. We're still, it's still work in progress. Can we get that? Maybe I should give you a Sharpie. There we go. Wait, I don't like that. From that angle, it looked like you said lost. Oh boy. Anyway. You get hurt for little.
I'm falling.
You're falling? Okay. All right. Here, tell everyone to have a great weekend, okay?
Have a great weekend.
Oh, wait, hold on. The Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. And don't forget about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. I don't know if you guys were fans of the show Tosh.0 back in the day or a fan of Daniel Tosh himself, but apparently he's doing a podcast now called The Tosh Show. And it happened to come up in my algorithm on the old TikTok there, right? And he suggested that the Eagles to can you put your hands on your ears for a second?
Why?
Just here you to extend a middle finger to the league for when they wanted to ban it, allegedly, the Eagles should run the tush push every single play. Here was his philosophy on it. The Eagles average 3 yards when they run the tush push. So he said, that means you could run it every play and get a first down every time. So they should run it every single play and march down the field just doing the tush push, just to, see you, sweetheart, love you, just to extend a middle finger to the rest of the NFL for even thinking about banning it. Thought it was, I mean, they'll never do it, but I just love the philosophy behind it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend here. Enjoy your Friday. Sixers tonight. I don't think I mentioned when the Flyers are back at it. The Flyers are back at it tomorrow against the Detroit Red Wings. So that'll be there you go, Blue Flame. Yeah, Aunt Emily. She wants Aunt Emily to run it. Whoop, there we go. Aunt Emily to run it. Babs, heart you too. I know that was for her, not me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name's Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We'll catch you guys on Monday. And right there, we'll break it all down for the Eagles and Seahawks when they get underway. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you.